Hi everyone, you're in for a treat today because we're going to take a look at a first-time home buyer's journey. We're here in Catherine's home. Catherine, thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course.
And I've got Jeannette with me. Jeannette is one of the awesome agents at the Justin Landis Group, and she helped Catherine with the purchase of her house.
Yep.
So we appreciate you being here. We appreciate the dogs, hopefully being quiet and giving us a couple minutes
We'll see. Yeah.
to share your story. But first of all, Catherine, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about your story and your background?
Okay. So I moved to Atlanta, I think 2013. I went to get my master's at Emory, so moved over to Decatur area. And we really liked the area where we were at. We rented for about 5 years, me and my fiance, Andrew. We weren't engaged then, but we are now. And we rented there for about 5 years, and we're just kind of calculating how much we were spending on rent, and it seemed pretty ridiculous at the end of it. So we were like, we should probably look into buying something. We knew we wanted to stay in Atlanta. So we had talked about it a lot before we explored any options, and obviously looked online to see what was around and in our kind of budget area. And then I was talking to one of my friends, Alexa, shout out to Alexa, and she knew Jeannette from childhood, and said that she was a real estate agent here, and they had a first time home buyers panel. Yeah. So I went to one of those with her to kind of explore what the options were there. So
that's how you all got connected, was through a mutual friend.
Yep.
And so as you were thinking about it, you said you were thinking about the money you were spending on rent. Was that one of the primary factors for potentially buying a place or exploring buying a place?
I think so, yeah. Because we knew we wanted to stay in Atlanta, and it was like, you're not really buying anything. You're just kind of throwing money away. So you'd rather, get some equity by buying a house and putting money into a house that you could potentially get back, an investment kind of property thing. So yeah, it was kind of one of those things. Once we tabulated out, we wanted to stay in Atlanta. We wanted more space. We wanted a backyard. There were some things on a checklist, and then eventually it was kind of one of those things that when you're looking at the primary factor, it was just the fact that we were throwing money down the drain, literally. So
yes,
yeah,
which is true. I mean, when you rent, you're never getting that money back. It's gone.
It's over.
So tell me a little bit about what it was like coming. I think that this was a first-time homebuyer brunch. Sometimes we'll do happy hour. Sometimes we'll do a brunch.
Yep.
I think this one was a brunch, wasn't it?
Yep.
So tell everyone a little bit what that was like, and I'm curious to hear your perspective on it as well.
So Alexa, like I said, brought me to the brunch, and we went and we just kind of sat there and watched everyone kind of talk about their different experiences and what kind of the home buying piece looked like. And it was actually really interesting. There was a lot of pieces I didn't know about, and I think going into it, my main issue was that I was overwhelmed. Like, I was very inexperienced in home buying. Like, sure, I could go on Zillow or Realtor.com and see what houses looked like and what the prices were, but I didn't know anything about starting the process of it. I knew you had to have a down payment. I knew kind of what that looked like, but beyond that, I had no idea what the other pieces were. So it was great because you guys had, your real estate agents up there kind of explaining the process. You guys had a lender, Mark, who we used as well, who kind of explained the kind of financial piece to it. So all of that kind of helped to sort in my mind what the steps were. And I'm kind of a checklist person. So it helped to be like, okay, step 1, we do this. Step 2, we do this. So it helped to kind of put everything together and make a big picture. And it seemed daunting going into it, but once everyone kind of explained it, it kind of eased my fears about most of it. So
Catherine, when you found out about the first time home buyers brunch, were you worried that it might be like a timeshare situation where you get there for 2 hours and we're going to pressure you and you never get to leave? What did you think it was going to be like coming into it?
I was honestly concerned that it would, not concerned, but thought that it might be kind of salesy. But I think it was more informative than anything else. And I didn't feel any pressure. The agents that were there said, feel free to come up and talk to us afterwards. And no one kind of, sharked you. And
you didn't get trapped in a corner.
It was kind of like, we'll stand around. We'll be here for the next, 30 minutes to an hour if you want to come talk or ask questions. And that's when I kind of found Jeannette.
And you all got a chance to... Yeah, definitely. And so you guys got a chance to connect there, but it was on your schedule.
Right. Yeah. And I think we talked for 10, 15 minutes about, kind of, we didn't even really get into details of what I was looking for, that kind of thing, but just kind of that I was looking and what I was, what my timeline looked like, kind of thing. And then I think from there she got my number and I got her number, and from there we just kind of met up and figured it out.
After
after
that.
Awesome. Jeannette, would you say that's a common fear or challenge for first-time homebuyers, is just that overwhelmed with there are so many things to do, where do I start, what's the process like? Was Catherine's story, is it a typical?
Very common. I feel like that is one of the most common things that people say to me in our initial meetings is, we've been looking up this, that, and the other online, but, we're not sure that we've wrapped our heads around it, and everybody always wants a little bit more clarity on that, so.
And so that's one of the things we go whenever that first time home buyer brunch. But what about when people can't come to that? Can they get the same information in a different setting?
Yeah. I mean, if anyone can't come to that, we're happy to meet with them one-on-one and really walk them through the process in more detail.
But when we looked around it, I wanted an older house, and this house was built in like 1900. And I really like the character of an older house. So I think that was true to what we wanted. But I also just kind of wanted to keep our options open and didn't want to pigeonhole into one section or one area, because I think we lived in Decatur, and that was, the east side of Atlanta, and we only kind of knew what we had driven by or seen. But Jeannette really encouraged us, if you see a place or see a house that you like, go drive by the area, drive by at night, drive by traffic, see what it's like. To kind of fit your lifestyle, because those things are important in Atlanta too.
And so you found the house. What was the process of making an offer and getting the house under contract? Was it hard? Was it easy? Tell us about that.
I think it was in between. But Jeannette was great. She was super patient. She was available at all hours. It went pretty smoothly. And I think not to keep plugging the Homebuyer channel, but it really did help to kind of see all the pieces of it, and made me feel better that like I could say, hey, this is what we want, this is what we want to put down, all that kind of stuff, and then step back and this might not sound super nice, but just let Jeannette and Mark kind of deal with the rest of it, because I didn't want to be in the weeds of every little detail, but like send me what I need to sign, let me know what I need to do, and I can step back because I know kind of the overview of it now.
And then, so you got the house under contract, had a home inspection. This is an old house.
Yep.
So for anyone, and the same thing, lived in lots of old houses. How was the home inspection process on the old house?
It was actually like fantastic. Like
awesome.
I was nervous going into it, and we were meeting Jeannette and the home inspector here, and she was like, just to let you know, so far everything's gone great. And I was like, okay, thank God. I mean, they like to say like it has good bones, or about old houses, and that's literally what he said. He said everything's done well. There were a couple tiny things during the renovation that needed he suggested needed updating, but I think overall it was a great inspection. And I think that was just kudos to the people who renovated it, but also to him for the things he brought up. I was like, I would have never noticed this. So
that's what we have home inspectors,
yeah, exactly.
Right? And so I'll ask both of you guys this question individually to wrap up. If you could give one piece of advice to someone considering buying their first house, what piece of advice would you give them?
I think talk to an actual person as soon as possible, just because, I mean, even to your point, what you were saying, people can get wrapped up in, aimlessly searching on Google, how to buy house. And that, I mean, it can be frustrating, and I think it can make it a little more overwhelming than it needs to be.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Love that. And what about you, Catherine? What advice would you give?
I think the same thing. Just that you can definitely look to see like what the requirements are, what the steps are. But I'm more of a person that likes to talk to somebody and have them tell me like, here are the important pieces, here are the pieces like are necessary, but you don't have to be as concerned with. So I think that, and then using, the internet to look at houses before, I think helps. Like you were saying, it's only, the average, I guess, is 12 houses. So narrowing it down that way. So looking at areas to kind of potentially see where you want to live, look at what the houses look like, look at what the prices are. I think you can do a lot of like honing in that way.
Love it. Well, Catherine, thanks so much for sharing today and sharing your house. It's beautiful, and I'm happy that you have not had any negative surprises. And that has been great here in the first year of it. We appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you today. And thanks for your expertise, Jeannette. We will see everybody next week.